What's up everybody, welcome back to Zero Mile ADV. Today the weather is great. We took the Harley out for a nice cruise over the Colorado National Monument. Quick note, if you've never been to Colorado National Monument, you should definitely check it out. It often gets overlooked because it is so close to Moab, but it's got very Moab-esque style scenery and there's generally no crowds, so you should check it out. It is a super cool place. But with that, before we get into the video, thanks to everybody that has gone to Zero Mile ADV and downloaded our BDR checklist. Also note, if you do download it, it does get you on the list to be one of the first people notified once our Zero Mile apparel comes out. I have asked a lot of you guys, what would be cool for all of our first edition members. So if you're not sure and you're just watching this video for the first time, what does first edition member mean? Basically, you are one of the first people to buy our apparel. It is going to come with a first edition patch somewhere on the motorcycle apparel. If you buy a t-shirt or hoodie, that's not going to come with the patch. But if you buy any of our actual protection or what we call biker apparel with the manufacturer, it will come with a first edition Zero Mile patch. I think I'm going to do lifetime discounts for people that are first edition members. So if you want to take a chance on us and you're going to be one of the first people to buy our products, we will give you a lifetime discount for being a first edition member and taking a chance on us. And I also would like to do some cool events and stuff like that. So all of our first edition members will be the first to be notified and get access to everything new first. So with that, it is also going to be limited to about 200 people or less, because assuming everybody only buys one item, so maybe you just buy denim or maybe you just buy a flannel, etc., we will only be able to have about 200 people, because that's all the inventory we are going to have on this first run. But if people buy denim and then they buy a flannel to match that denim, we're going to have less than that. So we may only have 120 potential first edition spots. So if you want the opportunity to be a potential first edition member and get your hands on some Zero Mile apparel, which we are working really, really hard on, and we are finishing up pre-production phase as we speak. It all went into sewing. We should have everything in our hands tomorrow to look at, to inspect, to say, go ahead, let's make this. And at that point, once we say that, we're about 30 days out, because that's about how long it'll take them to make our entire run of bulk products. Download our free BDR checklist. And at the end of the day, if you decide not to buy anything, still cool. At least you get a BDR packing checklist if you're going to do a BDR. And it includes 4 things I think are super important that aren't on most packing checklists. So download that, get that for free. With that being said, let's get into the video. Okay, so the other day I saw a video and it made me think, like, if I had the space and the cash flow and I could buy a bike in every segment, what would I buy and why? So what would be like my dream quiver of adventure bikes? And so we're going to start, first off, I would say I probably will always have a Harley in the garage, at least for the foreseeable future. Mostly like today, if you want to go out and cruise the roads, it's just amazing on the roads. It's just like, I've talked about it, we won't get into that. But also I have a really cool group of Harley riders that we go on rides with and we do cool stuff with. And that's always fun, to go on decent rides somewhere cool for lunch and come back. So I'd probably always have a Harley in the garage, but we're not talking about cruisers or sports bikes. We're talking about the ADV segment. So starting on the super lightweight dirt bike, plated. This is important, I think. Every one of these bikes would be plated, especially when I think about this smaller segment of bikes that are kind of in the cross-country trail or like dual sport motorcycles. It is just, for me, it is so nice to be able to, like, even with these smaller bikes, like with my Honda, trailering it to Moab, it is nice to be able to start from camp, stop in town for gas, get lunch or whatever, snacks, go and ride some more, and then just end back at camp without having to like re-trailer it up and all that jazz. So that's why the plating makes things far easier for me. So for me, I think I would do 2 bikes right now. On a side note, I sold the Honda. And actually, shout out to the guy who bought it, because he's actually a viewer of this channel. So I hope you're enjoying the Honda. I had a lot of fun with it, but there is a motorcycle coming, which I'm about to talk about, that I pre-ordered. Hopefully it's awesome, but I'm going to add it to this list because I really wanted one as soon as I saw that it came out, and that's why I'm selling it. And that is the Stark Varg EX. It is their trail bike. So if you're not familiar, Stark is kind of leading the charge when it comes to electric motorcycles. And having gotten to ride the MX version out kind of like just on a quick demo near like some motocross tracks we have out here. I am not a motocross rider. That was a big heavy bike, but like it's just so customizable, like to just be able to tune the power delivery, and the suspension was amazing, and it was just really well thought out. And I was like, man, if they ever made a trail bike, I would want one. Well, they are making one, and so I have one on order, and it actually shipped from Spain, and it is on my way to my local dealer, and so I should hopefully be able to pick it up here in the next couple months. But the reason for me, a couple of things. With the Stark, there's no clutch, right? And so you can have mountain biking style braking. So you can have braking on both hands, which I think is awesome. It does require in the US, you have to have a foot brake in order for it to be platable here in the US. So it will still come with the foot brake, but it also comes with the handbrake kit. So you can do handbrake for front and rear, just like on a bicycle, which is awesome. The other thing is you can ride the battery life. They say you can do trail riding for 4 hours. I watched some videos of them trying to kill a professional trail rider riding the MX version, trying to kill the battery, riding it super hard. And he rode some super gnarly trails for like 2.5 or 3 hours before it died. So with this better battery, bigger capacity, it will last far longer than I could probably have the sustainability, like far past my fitness level, etc. And so it would just be super fun. And I think just being able to tune the power, this one is also platable, as I mentioned, which is super important. It is platable, but who knows? I could get it, it could suck, and I could immediately want to sell it. But I think it's gonna be a lot of fun based on just the time, just on how much it's a lot lighter. It's not quite as tall as the MX version. So there's a lot of things that I was like, I didn't like about the MX that they had put on this bike that I think are gonna make it super, super cool. So I'm really excited to get it. So for my first bike, it'd be the Stark Varg EX, because I think that's going to be an awesome trail bike. The middleweight section. So if I was going to have a middleweight bike, I thought I had to think a lot about this, because generally at the middleweight, you're going to be doing more off-roading stuff. But for me, that wasn't really the case when I started to think about it, actually. I was like, well, what would I use a middleweight for? The middleweight, I think, would be a great around the town bike, and also going on for a cool cruise with your friends, with your GS friends who want to go to the local coffee shop, right? So they don't really want to do any heavy dirt. You might do a short dirt road loop, but then you're going to end at the coffee shop and then you're going to be done. And for me, I thought a bike in this segment, because if I'm going to do a lot of heavier off-road, I'm going to take the Stark. If I'm going to do any trails or anything, I'm going to take the Stark. And so for the middleweight section, I actually think I would get, this one might be a surprise, the Moto Guzzi V85 TT. Why? Because it is just such a unique bike. It's got kind of this unique sideways twin. So instead of being this way, it's out to the side. It just looks like a super cool vintage bike. It can still go off-road. Some guys push those things pretty hard, actually. I mean, they push it to its limits. So you can still take it on some decent dirt roads, or even 50-inch two-track, depending on how technical it is. Like a lot of the areas I rode, the BMW 1250 GS in southern Utah, you could easily take the V85 TT. And I think the coolest part would be is when you get to the cafe, like everybody's gonna wanna know what that thing is, right? Like it just looks so good. It's just got such great styling, and it's Italian, right? So it's like, it just goes hand in hand. You're gonna go like, it's gonna be your cafe bike. So you could go to the cafe and you could drink, but I also think like it'd be a great bike to like ride to the gym. It'd be a great bike to ride to go meet your friends for dinner. It would just be like a great all-around kind of mid-sized bike to have fun around town, some light off-road use. Just would be super cool. So if I could get a full-size adventure bike. Now, a lot of you, if you've been watching my videos, you're thinking he's gonna buy the BMW 1300 GS or a used 1250. But actually, when I really thought about it, I said no. I would go with the KTM 1290 Super Adventure R, because if I think about a big adventure bike, I'm going to want to use that bike to do BDRs. And when I think about BDRs, they're like 90% fast dirt roads. And the entire time I was on the Colorado BDR, like I wanted to be on one. And then I think about like, because I really want to do Idaho, so I need to figure out the logistics of how to be able to do Idaho BDR. And you know, like say you find somewhere to like station your truck and your bike at the bottom, you got to commute back, right? So there's going to be a lot of highway time like getting back, because do you want to spend all that time just doubling back to BDR? No, like you've already been out for 5 or 6 days. You probably just kind of want to bomb back to the car, and so there's gonna be a lot of highway miles. And a full-size adventure bike you can't beat. In that 1290, I mean, you've got 170 horsepower, which you will never use off-road, absolutely never. But when you're on those fast dirt roads, like the weight of the bike, it's got good low center of gravity. It just would be so fun. But then with that WP Explorer suspension, when you do get into more technical sections like Hagerman Pass, or like in Colorado, the other one would be like Cumberland Pass, or through the chunk of Ophir Pass, I think the weight and the stability would kind of help you mash through all that stuff. You probably have to go slower unless you're Chris Birch and you can just rally through that. But for me, I wouldn't mind taking the time and slowing down to get the big bike through that stuff, but really being able to enjoy it on those dirt roads, and then kind of figuring out how to commute back to your truck or your trailer when you're doing BDR, right? Because it's one way, but you still got to get back. So you have to figure out those logistics. And so I just think the 1290R would be awesome. And I think if you watch any sort of ADV channel, the best one is probably Big Rock Moto. He does amazing job of like super deep, in-depth videos on bikes. And I've been waiting for him to review the 1290 Super Adventure R, and he finally did. And he's basically like, I'm not sure how you can beat this thing for the power, the motor, the weight, the suspension. He's like, you really can't beat it. And that was my thought with the S. And so I've always wanted an R. When I got my S, the R was hard to come by. I also decided on the S for a whole other host of reasons. I did a video on that a long time ago, so you could check that out. But now that I've got some miles and some time under my belt, I would get the R. And that would be my garage. That would be kind of my quiver of adventure bikes. Although there is that kind of let's do an extra one. So extra content for you guys. And if you've made it this far, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment below. Even to the guy who said, I'm leaving because this guy doesn't know anything. He's an idiot. Thank you for commenting and helping the channel. We rarely get these kind of mean comments because you guys are so nice. But I do want to take the time to acknowledge when somebody sends a mean comment, to acknowledge them. So thank you, guy. I appreciate you for leaving that mean content. And I appreciated you for being a subscriber for however long you were. So thank you. And thank you for leaving a comment. So with that, leave a comment below. But let's do an extra segment. This is also something I thought about too, which is like, it's kind of this like 450 to 700 range, right? You've got like the new CF Moto 450, the Covey 450 Rally, which looks super cool. You have the Yamaha Tenere 700, the Aprilia 660, the bikes that kind of fit into that segment. And honestly, in that segment, if I was going to get a bike where I wanted to do more hard off-road, but I knew I was going to spend a decent amount of time on the highway to get there, maybe 30 minutes plus, right? Because I can tell you, like, Moab's not that far away, but there's no way I'm getting on the highway and riding my Honda 450 for freaking an hour and a half on the highway to get there. Like, it would just be brutal. But, so what bike would I get in this case? This one for me is, I don't know, it's kind of a no-brainer. The Aprilia 660 gets a lot of praise. I think I would go Yamaha Tenere 700. Because there's just so many suspension options. You can really build that suspension up with the KYB suspension to make it just super off-road capable. But it's powerful enough where it wouldn't be a sufferfest on the highway to get to whatever trails you're going to ride. But then you could push it pretty hard. And it's a Yamaha, so you should be able to get parts anywhere where you're at. And it should hopefully run and not leave you stranded. So if I could kind of do the light midweight section, I'd also add the Yamaha Tenere 700. So if you've made it this far, again, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment below, and until next time, stay safe out there.